The reasons for Russia's withdrawal from New START, which is the last significant arms control treaty between the United States and the Russian Federation, largely have to do with the conflict ongoing in Ukraine. Vladimir Putin has described the United States and the West's relationship with Russia as a fundamental component of really everything that permeates the relationship. And so arms control has now fallen prey to the broader deterioration in relations between the West and Russia. It was compartmentalized for a moment, but now Russia is holding the treaty effectively hostage. It has declared that it will suspend the treaty, which is not a legally provided for provision in the text of the treaty, but broadly speaking, Russia has decided that it will no longer comply with the agreement, even as the agreement might suit Russian national interests. With the news now that Russia will no longer participate in various components of the treaty, including verification provisions that are fairly important to the treaty's political salience, there will be pressure in Washington for the United States to revisit its own participation in the agreement. There are ways in which the United States can continue to verify that Russia is broadly compliant with the so-called central limits of the treaty, i.e. the limits that govern the numbers of strategic nuclear arms that the United States and Russia deploy. But if Russia is no longer complying with the treaty, then Washington will likely make the determination with legal review that the treaty will no longer be tenable effectively, even if the broad idea of verifiable treaty codified limits on strategic offensive arms is again in the U.S. national interest. If both the United States and the Russian Federation decide that New START is no longer tenable and the treaty effectively ceases to apply, then we are potentially, for the first time since the early 1970s, likely to see the reemergence of what may be a quantitative nuclear arms race between the United States and Russia. Both countries, albeit in different ways, have a limited capability in the short term to increase the number of nuclear arms that they deploy on a day-to-day basis. The United States has a rapid capability, for instance, to upload, i.e. add additional nuclear warheads to its ground-based missiles and its submarine-launched missiles, and Russia has similar capabilities, albeit at a more limited scale than the United States. Given the fact that in Washington there is an ongoing debate about the future of U.S. nuclear force posture amid the emergence of now a unconstrained Russia that is broadly more hostile to the United States and a rapidly growing Chinese nuclear arsenal, we're likely to face a robust debate in Washington about the right path ahead for the United States and the role that arms control can play, if any, in constraining this new tripolar nuclear competition between Moscow, Beijing, and Washington.